You are not here to harden in order to survive. You are here to hold your frequency and open anyways. Because protecting your energy does not mean that you cut yourself off from other people. It means that you actually stay rooted in your own truth, even when the world gets cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. I know so many of us, especially those of us who feel incredibly deeply, us empaths out there, I'm talking to you, we have learned how to shield ourselves with silence, how to shrink ourselves so that we aren't being too much or avoid things with nicety. But today I want to show you a new path forward. That's right. This is a path where you no longer are leaking your own energy just to be polite. It's a path where you stop absorbing everything that is not yours. A path where you stay in your own energetic boundaries without building the emotional walls that we tend to do. This is because our heart was meant to stay open. It was not meant to close. It was not meant for us to build barriers, but actually find the barriers in life and take them down so that we can love greater, we can have deeper connection, and we can move in our own authentic selves, attracting the things in life that we actually want while still being protected. Hey there, beautiful souls, and welcome back to another Mindful Monday. I'm your host, your girl, that's right, Erica Trunell, also known as the Mindful Mistress. I am here to help you see and build another perspective, looking at the blind spots where your energy may not be embodying your true authentic self. And I'm here to help you guide you back into a place of sovereignty of your own energy and frequency. Now, if you're new to the channel, welcome. I appreciate you being here. Please like, subscribe, share, do all of the things. That is a free way to support me so that I grow. And then I also get to understand what's most important to you as well. So here at Prism Vibes, we do not define healing as just a release of things. We are removing things that no longer serve us. We define healing as true resonance. That's right. What resonates with our soul's song, our soul's frequency. Healing to us is coming back home to that vibrational coherence that we all have the ability to. But somewhere along the way, it got lost, or we stopped listening, or we started listening to other people's energy as well. So this is where your soul, your energy, your voice, your nervous system all harmonize as one in this beautiful harmonic signal that you are broadcasting. Today, we are continuing the conversation that we started technically 2 weeks ago. I did take a little bit of a hiatus. I did need to get a new computer. So we are going to unpack the cost of performing our identity instead of actually living that. That's what we talked about last week. So this week we're really kind of double tapping, or we're digging in a little bit deeper to that whole thing on the way to actually resonate with that. So what we're going to explore is how to protect your energy without closing your heart. Because when you step into your true frequency, the real question is, how do you keep it intact? When you figure out who you are in this world, right? When you really dig down to your authentic self, how do you be mindful and always honoring it and not going back to the self-sabotaging behavior that we may have learned in childhood? So this is what we're going to break down today, and this is what we're going to dive into, and how we're going to bring back what we learned about 2 weeks ago, and make it more practical, make it more grounded in reality, because this is the integration part. And this is a lot of times, especially when I'm working with clients, this is the hardest part. It's like, okay, great. I know who I am. I figured I've gone on this long hero's journey. I figured out who I am. Now, how do I step into a world where it's constantly giving me signs and signals that I shouldn't be who I know I am meant to be, or where I'm scared that a relationship that I have, whether it's partnerships, families, etc., I feel like could no longer be there or detach or crumble, because I now have discovered who I am and I want to stand in my authentic truth. So before we like do a deep dive in, you know me, if you've been a part of the channel, I like to bring the science in. So my undergrad is in biology. So I love when science meets spirituality, that intersection, because there's so many aspects of science, hard science and soft science, that really reinforce what we've learned on our spiritual journey. So we're going to take a little bit of a moment to dig into the brain, the brain aspect of it, the neuroscience of this. So this is where the modern medicine meets the ancient wisdom. So I've talked about this before. Your brain is really wired for empathy. We have something in our brains called mirror neurons. So I don't know if you've ever taken like a cells class or even psychology, they talk about mirror neurons and how you can make someone feel more comfortable when you just mirror the subtle things that they're doing. So if they're putting their hands on their chin, you do that too. If they're crossing their arms, you do that too. And so when you mirror somebody, you're kind of biohacking them. Essentially, you are making them feel more comfortable with you. So these mirror neurons are something that we can leverage. So this is a neurological powerhouse, if you will, that makes us feel what other people feel. So again, when I'm mirroring what you're doing with, the side, maybe you're twirling your hair, my hair's not down today. These are things that make other people feel comfortable with you because you're mirroring what they're doing, and whether most of the time on a subconscious level. But here's the thing. The mirror neurons, they do not have a filter. So we can do this as a way to make someone feel comfortable with us. We also can do this in just being around certain people. You start to take on their mannerisms. And again, there's no filter. So you might take on mannerisms that are not in alignment with you. So to give you an example, right? You are in a room. You're in a room with anxiety or grief or just a lot of loud energy. You are absorbing that energy, especially thinking about being in that room, and then if your heart starts to race, or you start feeling the emotions of the people in the room, or if it's just one person in the room, or someone you are sitting down having a heart-to-heart conversation. This is where those mirror neurons they come into play, and this is how they interact. So thinking about someone who or maybe even yourself, who've experienced trauma, you start to actually feel that. So this is why it's so important for us to have energetic boundaries. No, regardless of whether, you do coaching or consulting or anything, if you are near people at all, it is so important to have energetic boundaries. And this isn't something that it's a real thing, all right? It's not just the woo-woo, it's not just spiritual, but there's a psychological aspect. It's actually psychological care, psychological self-care, if we want to be technical, to create energetic boundaries. So this is something that is actually backed by science. So that's why I say it's not just woo-woo, it's not just a spiritual thing. Having energetic boundaries is backed by science. We've talked about energy. We've talked about every fiber of our beings, every cell is vibrating at a specific frequency, and you yourself have a whole frequency. You've got a beautiful melody that you sing. So studies have shown that things like breath work, visualization, as I close my eyes and ground myself in this moment, boundary setting, these all can help to reduce your cortisol level. So again, you place yourself back in that room where it's crazy, noisy, loud, or it's filled with anxiety. The stress hormone, cortisol, which we've all heard of how terrible that is, by doing little practices like the breath work, like the visualization, like doing a meditation, can lower that stress hormone, cortisol. And the other thing it can do is it can increase your vagal tone. So we've talked about the vagus nerve system before. It's it regulates. It goes really, from the top of your head all the way down to your spine. It is what regulates your emotions and so many other things. So this can restore that resilience that we have. Thinking about let's go back to that room, right? It's crazy. It's filled with anxiety or filled with a lot of noise. If you are already in, let's say, a rest and digest state, you're better able to be resilient in a room that is noisy and crazy and a lot of things going around. Maybe thinking in my head, the first thing that comes to my head is like a room full of a bunch of kids like running like banshees everywhere. They're having so much fun, but it can be a lot sometimes. So if you are in a rest and digest state, your vagus nerve system is not, you're not hyperactivated, you're not hypoactivated, you're in that window of tolerance. Now think about it from a standpoint of maybe you just had a fight with your loved one, or you've got some anxiety over something coming, or even walking in that room. You are now, your window of tolerance, which maybe let's say normally you're like this when everything is good, it's like this. So immediately something like being in a room full of kids or being in a room where there's a lot of anxiety or stress, it's going to take you and you're going to go, to the opposite end of the spectrum, whether you get hyper aroused or you get hypo aroused. Now, if you've been with me for a while, you know the difference between being hyper aroused and hypo aroused. So just for me to break it down a little bit, when you're hyper aroused, you get really, think of it as like kind of higher energy. You get more of that fight and that flight mode. The hypo aroused is when you kind of disconnect, when you disassociate, when your body just kind of gets more in that freeze or fawn state. So when we're talking about from a trauma standpoint, those are some of the responses that might come up from being in that type of situation. And when you realize, oh my gosh, I'm disassociating, something right here has triggered, something in this environment has triggered me, okay, I'm in a hypo aroused state, or I'm in a hyper aroused state. You're able to start having that awareness and paying attention to your body cues, like the emotional flooding that we can get from being hyper or hypo aroused. So I wanted to break that down just really quickly for anyone who hasn't watched any of my videos. You're new here, welcome. Glad to have you here. Hopefully what we talk about today, and as we dig a little bit further into this, you are able to get some nuggets that really help you maneuver life and gain back your sovereignty and back your own voice. So let's start with, what are energetic boundaries? Like I just told you, this isn't a woo-woo thing. I just said how it's backed by science because we've got those mirror neurons that mirror other people's, whether it's body language, emotion, hormones, etc. Think about women when we all kind of get on our cycle together, for lack of a, for sorry men. For lack of another example of how, you can start being in sync with people who you hang around. That's another reason why they say the 5 people that you hang around the most, you end up having realities like them. So it's so important that you are very mindful, very intentional about the people that you keep in your life and the people that you hang around. So let me go ahead and try to make this plain. Energetic boundaries aren't just about saying no. They are actually about deciding what gets access to your vibration. Again, we've got 5 people, the 5 people we hang around the most, their energies, we start to attune to their energies, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. So that's what energetic boundaries are all about. Seeing who gets access to that beautiful melody that you have, who gets access to that beautiful frequency you have, and who does not get access. So think of it like it's an energetic skin of your spirit. It's letting in what's going to nourish you, and it's also going to keep out things that are harmful. Now, for my science nerds out there, I think of a membrane. There are certain membranes, or there are certain systems in our body that only certain molecules are able to fit in. And we think about I'm going way deep. Think about like the DNA and mRNA strands. it takes a certain sequence, and only a T can go with an A and vice versa. So again, thinking about this skin that only allows certain things to get in that nourish you, but keeps the things that are less nourishing, we could say that. I don't necessarily want to say harmful. I don't necessarily like using, complete opposites of the spectrum, but less harmful, keeping them out. So this isn't about blocking people or ghosting your cousin for texting you grand rising queen 5 times a week, and you're just so annoyed at this point. I'm not calling anyone out, but it's about knowing when something is actually resonating with your frequency and when something is actually that disruption. We talked about this before, disruption, that static, that noise where it makes it very hard for you to even hear your own frequency. So here is the thing. When your energetic boundaries are strong, when they are present, when they are not porous, you can actually have an open heart. You can actually be with people without leaking your light and your energy. Think of the last time you were with somebody and you felt drained. That's an example of what it is like when you are with someone and you do not have very strong energetic boundaries, or you've got porous ones, so you're leaking your energy. You are kind of pouring into them, whether you wanted to or not. They could be energetic vampires, but we won't go there. But it takes 2 parts, not only being with an energetic vampire, but it takes you having not strong energetic boundaries for them to be able to siphon off of that energy, if you will. So the cost of this, what does this really mean, Erica? Okay, you're telling me about energetic boundaries. Yes, I've been with people, but let's say I really love that cousin who texts me grand rising, even though I leave completely drained after I have been with them. So the cost of this, I would actually reframe this and be like, let me ask you this. When you are constantly in those situations, or when you've constantly maybe spent a week with that cousin or a week with a group where you felt your whole energy drop in a line, how effective were you at doing the things, everyday tasks? How effective were you in partnership? How effective were you on a project? How effective were you just doing life, period? Now, you do not have to respond. You can put a comment if you want and participate. Make this more collective and community. But think about when you are drained. How effective are you at even doing the things that you want to do? Do you push them aside? Are you able to persevere because you've now have 0 in the tank because you've allowed yourself to leak energy? I don't know about you, but when I'm around those types of people, I got to shut down. That means whatever I had planned, whatever, girls thing, whatever date, whatever it is, it gets a pause, or it gets a nope, sorry, we're not feeling it right now. It's not a vibe. And it's so much more than, just the energy of it, because the energy impacts every part of our being. We talked about this. We talked the vagus nerve, right? We know it affects our mood. It affects our diet. It affects our sleep pattern. It's so much more than that. So these are the costs that you have to weigh when you decide to be in places and spaces and with people who you have not mastered creating energetic boundaries with. So your energy field starts telling you that something is out of alignment, and you constantly ignore it. You constantly put yourself in that situation. You constantly go back to that habit or that pattern. And some of the ways that shows up could be through like constant fatigue. You have that empathic burnout, or you start feeling resentment after you're giving too much. You said yes when your body said no. That could lead to things like also overthinking things, or having that chronic guilt. I know this is me, having the guilt when I do say no and honoring my needs, because I've been brought up to believe that I'm supposed to give of myself even when I don't even have myself to give. So that has been my own challenge in working through that and understanding that boundaries are a necessity. Thinking about how I am listening to my body, because we've talked about this before. Our bodies are that library. Every single experience we have had lives in our bodies. So think about that too next time you want to put yourself in a situation where you know you are going to be drained. Your body is cataloging this and being like, okay, we got this. Okay, we're remembering this. Okay, this is going to affect us later. Don't think that you can just be in these places and spaces and not have any impact. It may not register here, but it's definitely going to register in your body. So, real talk here. I once said yes to a collaboration, which looked perfect, but my body was like, girl, no. I started to feel the heaviness, the weight, literally the weight. My gut got really tight. I didn't have any peace. And guess what? Surprise, surprise. That collaboration flopped. It was a no-go. And it wasn't just because I wasn't feeling it, but from an energetic standpoint, it wasn't something that actually resonated with my system. It didn't resonate with my own flow. So this is an example, and let this be, a little nugget for you. When you push yourself knowing, or again, maybe you're in a place and space where you don't have that body awareness yet, but when you push yourself to things that are not in alignment with you, you will see how the outcome reflects what your body was telling you that you didn't know. So you can then start using, okay, let me look at this outcome. This outcome flopped. What can I garner from what happened prior to, right? Hindsight's always 2020. So we can look back and say, oh, I did have a headache, or my chest was really tight right before and I didn't realize why. Now I know why. Now I can start having awareness about my body and how my body reacts to those situations. So next time my body is communicating to me in this way, I can move forward accordingly. So one of the biggest myths I want to shatter, we've talked about boundaries before. I don't know, not specifically energetic boundaries, is that there's this misnomer that boundaries are the same equal walls. That B equals W. I do know a little bit of sign language, but and that is not true. And when I hear that, it's like almost nails on the chalkboard for me, because if Erica doesn't set boundaries, then she doesn't honor her time. She doesn't honor her work. She doesn't honor her value. If I don't set boundaries, then I'm allowing other people to dictate what's best for me. So, if I do set boundaries, I'm honoring the things that matter. And when you do that, think about those mirror neurons. You are showing other people how you want to be treated because you treat yourself like that. That makes sense? So it doesn't mean that you are cold. It doesn't mean you are callous. It just means that you are showing other people, you're showing yourself that you matter. You're showing other people, this is how I want to show up in the world. This is what matters to me. This is how I take care of me. And if you aren't taking care of me like this, right? Or if you aren't loving me like this, then there's not an alignment. And then it also gives people the opportunity to say, hey, I'm noticing that this is what you require. And yes, I'm along for this ride with you to continue being your friend or your partner, or having a very close relationship with you. Or it gives them the opportunity to say, hey, that doesn't resonate with me. And I think our time together is over. And that's okay too. Now, I want to call out something, the elephant in the room. Again, if you've been with me, you know that I talk about trauma. So, when that trauma voice is talking, when that static is talking, baby, I know it is so hard. That is really the inner child who thinks that love is compliance. Now, this may not be your case depending on what what traumas you have been through, and where you are on your healing journey. But there could be that inner child. So when you feel guilty about setting a boundary, ask yourself, is this really the inner child who equates compliance with love? Is this the inner child that grew up in a family that equated like you had to perform for love, or you were only worthy if you did XYZ for other people, regardless of how you felt? So this is the case where putting a boundary could feel like a wall, but I get it. It's not. It's showing yourself love. It's showing other people how you want to be loved. Boundaries, they're not bricks for you to create this wall. They're filters. Again, it is filtering things out. It's keeping the good stuff in. So they may say, or something you might say is, I'm still open for love, but, or however, I will no longer betray myself for it. I will no longer betray myself to receive it, meaning I'm not just going to acquiesce to what you want because I want love so bad, even though it hurts me in the process. Now, that is a typical fawn response to placate or please others. That fawn's response is a fawn trauma response. And when you're able, again, to have that awareness, you can recognize, oh my gosh, this is what I'm doing. My softness is not for negotiation. That's okay. It's all right to be soft. You don't have to be hard. You do not have to be in your masculine energy in the driver's seat all of the time. You can be in your soft girl era if that's you. You don't need to be stone-hearted to protect your soul, but boundaries are the filters that you need. You really just need to be attuned to your own frequency and be able to recognize when something or someone isn't vibing with your particular truth. So to help you out here, I'm going to give you just a few vibrational practices that you can leverage to just tap in and create these boundaries. Again, this is a practice. If it's not something you're used to doing, we create practices create habits lead to patterns lead to a completely changed life. So one of the things that you can do is a solar plex check-in. So this is just placing your hand over your solar plex. So it's like the upper area of your belly. You can't see mine. And just ask yourself, is this mine to carry? Am I offering or overextending? And just tune into the response. Let your energy speak for itself. Let your body respond, because it'll let you know. We talked about how breath work is a great way to lower your cortisol. Breath work is a good reset for boundaries. So you can do a deep inhale and you can exhale audibly and visualize anything that isn't yours leaving your energy field. I bet you feel better just by doing it one time. What I recommend is you keep doing it until, let's say, if you feel anxiety or if you feel overwhelmed, you no longer feel overwhelmed. So doing this is great after meetings or conversations or being in crowded spaces, or sometimes even before, where we can start to feel the anxiety, the anticipation of having maybe a difficult conversation. The other thing is a sound shield. We know that sound is so important, right? We are vibrating, we are energy, we are vibrating a sound, even though some of us can't hear it. Using something like singing bowls or your own voice, or humming, because humming also aligns with your vagus nerve system. Even clapping can just reset that energy. You can make a beat. I'm not making a beat though. Don't follow me. I'm not on any kind of rhythm, but just doing this is like a way to wake you up and create the space. Sound literally restructures energy. it can clear, it can redefine your energy field. So that little reset is a really good way to do it. Like humming, singing bowls again, but something that's very accessible, easy to do. I'm about to get on a whole little, about to start rapping here, y'all. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not. All right. Another thing, plants. As you can tell, I love plants. So using plants, burning, whether it is rosemary or sage, can really be a good thing to create that reset. Using specific herbs that people have used for centuries to shield you from other people's energy. So help creating that boundary so you know what it's like to sit in your own truth, to resonate with your own boundaries. Then from there, you can take that awareness and what that feels like and know when it's off, so then you can adjust it. Whether you're using sage again, or whether you're using clapping or breath work, or, what have you. The last tip I'm going to leave you with is mirror field visualization. I am not good with the word visualization today. It's just not my word. For those of you, I have a little bit of a lisp and I embrace that. But yeah, so visualization is not the word for me today. But however, that is the fifth and final tip. So imagine yourself in, I don't know if I want to say a fun house, but a 360-degree mirror is around you. You're somewhere where there's mirrors everywhere. Maybe like a dance studio where there's mirrors everywhere. And you visualize your light shining out. But these lights, these projections of light, they actually bounce back to you. So you are essentially kind of creating a field, almost like a light field of your own aura. Nothing is blocking it. You are sending out light and it's being reflected back to you. This also helps you block out what is not yours, because you're only seeing your own light go out and you're only seeing your own light come in. So these are some tips that you can use to really help you with energetic boundaries. So when you start honoring your own energetic yes and your sacred no's, something so magical happens. Your nervous system starts to chill out. Your intuition gets louder. You stop people pleasing and you start soul pleasing. Now that to me is a game changer. I don't know about you. Then with all of that, you start magnetizing aligned people, situations, and you repel the energy vampires without even trying. Again, it just becomes a way of life. I've done this with myself. I've used this with clients. I had a client where she always had people just dump on her. I related because there was a time where I felt like I had a sign that just said, come talk to me, share your problems. That sign's not there. We politely decline when people decide, hey, let me just talk to Erica. She can help me with my problems, because no, Erica is not a place where you come and dump things on. So that's just, a practical way of what you can do. So to the point of me talking about my client is, yeah, she always had people come and dump on her, and everybody used her as like their therapist, and she would be drained by that. But these were people in her life that she loved, and she wanted to pour into them, and she wanted to help them with their problems. But we all know that each of our journeys is our own, and you can take a horse to water, but you cannot force it to drink. And for you to be able to show up 100% to someone, you've got to honor your own needs as well. So we were able to get down to the root of why she was doing this, create some practices that stopped her and got her to really understand what it felt like to be in her own energy, and then to move forward, creating boundaries, creating those energetic boundaries. So you can do a quick boundary reset, at any point in time where you realize this is something you need. You start to feel your energy draining. Trust me, you will get to that point where you know your energy so well, you know who around you, what situations are causing it to leak, that you start doing these practices, whether on a conscious level or subconsciously. Again, right? We're taking these practices, we're going to turn them to habits and then patterns, and then it's just going to be how we show up. We show up as us, and we accept nothing else. I want you to not think of your softness as a liability or your sensitivity as a weakness. These both deserve boundaries. So this week, I would love to hear from you. What's your biggest energetic boundary challenge right now? DM me, put it in the comments, let me know on IG, and you can hashtag sacred boundaries or whatever. So next week, I definitely want to dig into this a little bit more, maybe a different aspect. Let me know if this resonated with you. You may need to go back and watch technically not last week's episode, but 2 weeks ago episode, coming home to yourself and having, understanding what that authentic vibration is. Remember, we are here talking about resonance. We are reparenting ourselves. We are restoring safety in our own bodies. So until then, be vibrant, be bold, be radiant, but most importantly, be rooted and stay true to your own resonance. As always, I want you to attune to things in life that make you feel whole. Thank you. Bye.